Rabbi Isai, welcome back to Yerushalmi Demai. We are holding at Ein Gimel Amud Aleph. Now, just to put you in the picture, we had the din in Halacha Vav. You had two baskets of Tevel and Maestris. And you wanted to take the Maestris, like one of Maestris of one basket should be in the other. And the din was Shazu Bazu, the first one worked, but if you're doing all the Maestris at the same time, so you had two baskets, two karkolos of tevel. So sorry, two baskets of tevel, and you wanted the maestros of each one to work in the other one at the same time. And the halacha says that it worked. If you do one and then the other, then only the first one worked. So that's where we're up to now. So maestros and maestros, kalkala, etc. Then it said the Mishnah halacha said that it's effective because you're being miyached for the two baskets at the same time, right? So you are correcting the fruit in the two baskets. You have to take the maestros out of the fruit. So what do you do? Keisad hu aiser. Remember, each basket had 100 figs. So the maceration for the two baskets would be 20 figs. And well, we've already said that we're relying on brera, and the fruit that you're mafarish now are the ones that you've designated. Okay. So what we got now? So how do you complete the hafrosha here? So we bring a brayso which explains it. Noitel esrim te'enim me'ezim henchia. So you take 20 figs, whichever basket you want, and that's for the maceration that's needed for the two baskets which have 200 figs.
Mm-hmm. So that's because it's obviously men.
Your 10th, and it's 20. You're taking 20 for the 200. Now, from every 20 figs, every 10 you take, there's one fig that you have to be for Trumas Maaseh. Therefore, from the 20 figs of Maceration, you'll separate 2 figs for Trumas Maaseh, and the rest are permitted to be eaten. Now, so here, you're taking the Trumas Maaseh, that's also to the Zorim, and we don't care where you'll take the Maaseh from. So you can take the Maceration wherever you want. And the Trumas Maaseh for the two baskets, whichever one you want. You have to designate. You have to be miyached where the Maaseh Sheni is as well. Okay. Now over here, I just want to say, the two maestros achal at the same time, as we said. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. Let's carry on. Now, okay. Now the brayso. What about? Following case. Now, Ad Kedun, that's all very well, but Shabbos, where the two baskets are equal in size. So we said there's 100 figs in each basket. Now, what do you do in a situation where the numbers are not equal? So, if one basket had 100 figs and one had 200 figs. So, if for the sake of the basket of 100, you're taking the Maser Rishon, then, now for 100, remember it's always in 100, you take 10 against the 90 that remains. But if we're now taking for that whole 100 from outside, from another mixture, we don't need 10 against 90, we need to counter the whole 100. So it's 11 and a bit. So we have to take achas esrei, we have to take 11 figs from the basket of the 200, for the sake of the 100, which is milava, we have to cover the whole 100. We need 11 from the kalkal of the 200, right? And it's really 11 and a ninth, right? It's 11 plus 1.999 reoccurring, 1.111 reoccurring, and a ninth of a fig. Okay, the 10 figs corrects 90 figs. Then another 10, you have another 1 for another 9, and again the ninth right at the very end. Okay, now. If for the sake of the basket of 200 figs, you're separating Maserishon, so you're separating for the two baskets in one go. Remember, each basket, one's got 100, one's got 200. Then you need to take Shloshim Te'inim. You need to have 30 figs, because you're covering now all the figs in both mixtures. There's 100 here, there's 200 there, so that's 30. You need 30. Now the truth is, if you'd separated each basket separately, you would have done, for the 200, you'd separate 22.22. You're left with 77 in that 100 basket left. Once you take out the 22, you've got 77 left. And after that, if you want to be mafresh the maaser for these figs, you really only would need 7.77. So 7.77 plus the 22.22, and that's how you get your 30 figs from the basket of the 100 to cover the 100 and the 200.
Why can't we just say 20 and 10?
Well, you're taking it from the same basket. So you're taking, for the two baskets together, so we're saying you have to take 30. How it works out 30 is because once you take the 22, there's 77.7 left, and for that you only have to take a tenth of that, which is 7.77, add the 22.22, and you end up with your 30. So you can be moitzing the 30 figs with one hafrosha. You don't have to do it in two separate hafroshas. Okay? He says here, even if you want to separate maasros each basket separately, then it will be slightly different than reckoning. Because to be mafresh maaser from each basket for the other one, even in one go, you have to leave behind figs which are not ma'usa, which will be the maaser for peres of the second basket. You have to use fruit which is not maaser to cover your peres in the other basket. He says when you're separating maaser, let's say for the 100, you don't separate for the 100, but you do it for the figs that are left after you take off the number of figs which are needed for the 200. So therefore, when you're separating for the basket of 200, you don't separate for the 200, but you separate for the figs that are left after you've knocked off the amount that I need for the 100. So therefore, here as well, you need to be mafresh for the two baskets is 30, but the reckoning is slightly different. So in 100, you leave behind 21 and a quarter, which are not mu'usa, to be the maaseh b'bachutz for the 191 and a quarter, which is in the 200 bit. And based on that, you have 8.75 left, which are not masukan, and that will be maaseh b'bachutz for the 78 and 3/4, which are in the small basket. And the total for the two baskets would be 21 and a quarter and 8 and 3/4. Again, you get 30, but it's just a different reckoning how you get the numbers. So let's carry on. So Yerushalmi Demai Daf shloshim te'imim. B'zu mea over zu elef. If one basket is 100 and one basket is 1,000, and you want to separate maaser rishon, so now l'shem mea, when I tell, if you're separating for the 100 and you have to take from the basket and you're taking from the one which holds 1,000, noitel achas esrei. Again, for the 100, remember to cover your 90, 10 covers you for 90. For 100, you need 11.1, right? So therefore, you're going to separate 11. Even l'shem elef u'noitel. If you want to separate enough to cover you for 1,000, but if it's 11.1 for 100, it's going to be 111.1 for 1,000. So you're going to take the maestris, even l'shem elef u'noitel, then you're going to taking maestris of the two baskets out of the small one. So if you're using the small one is never going to be enough, because for the big one you need 111. The small one only has 100 in it. So the small one's not going to be enough to cover you for the 1,000. So I feel noiteles kula, even if you take all of it, and mi'achlev maserishin, ein mashlib is not going to be enough for what you need to be mastering the two baskets. There's 1,100 here, 1,100 figs. You need 111.1 in this one. You need 11.1 in that one. You need 122, whatever, 0.22. Right? So the total of all the figs in the two baskets is 1,100, and the figs which you need to be miyachet for maaser rishon is 110. And since in the small basket there's only 100 there, that's not enough to be mashlim what you need. You have to take from the big basket another 10, whatever it is, for the maaser rishon that you require. Now the Gemara asks, it brings a brisa which explains how you work out the maestros that you have to separate maaser rishon, maaser sheni, for all the fruit that there is. So mishi yesh le kalkala, you have a basket of figs. From mevakesh le'asra, you want to take maaser and take out the figs, let's say also for maaser rishon and for maaser sheni. Noitel shnei tishuin, you take from it 2/9, right, which is your 2/9 because it's your 22.22. Because remember, there's two maestros here we have to separate. With maaser rishon and maaser sheni. So there's 2/9 there, two lots of 11.11. 2/9 we're going to take. B'tishua shel tishua, and also 1/9 of 1/9, right? Shehein, and in a basket of 100, that is eser, 10 is going to be maaser, but teisha and 9 will be maaser sheni. 9 will be maaser sheni. So you end up with 19. So he's calling it 2/9. Now a ninth is what? 11 and a ninth. But he's calling it 19. Now, the reason why, if I remind myself, 1 second. In a situation of 100 fruits where the masa is from inside, it's 10 for masa rishon and then 9 for masa sheni. So when it's all coming from the same place, from this mixture, it's 10 and 9. Okay, and the basket you're left with 81, which is Masechet. So 19 have been separated, and then the 19 against the 81, which is corrected. So what you've separated is 19 over 81, which is actually going to be the new gift aid calculation next year when the gift aid rules change. They're moving it from 2080 to 19 over 81. But that's another story. Now, it could be here, so therefore it's 19 over 81. Or in the Gemara's wording, it's 2 ninths and a ninth of a ninth. Because a ninth of 81 is 9, and 2 ninths is 18. And also, one fruit, which is a ninth of a ninth, which is 1 over 81. So in total, it's 19 to 81. That is your fraction. Okay, so it's not 22.22, but out of this mixture from inside, it's going to be 19 over 81. So your 10 is your Masa Rishon, and your 9 is your Masa Sheni. Now, it's all very well calling it 2 ninths and a ninth of a ninth. But V'yoma T'sha'isrei, why not call it 19? You need 19 to correct the 81. 10 for the Masa Rishon, 9 for the Masa Sheni. So why did the Brisa mention this reckoning in an unusual way? 2 ninths is 2 ninths out plus a ninth of a ninth, which is 19 over 81. Mazira. He says this is an example of Divrei Chachamim V'chidosim. Sometimes they say their words in hidden ways so that you learn the depth of the matter more importantly. So here as well, why the Brisa mentions this payros, which are, not just to tell you the number of fruit in the basket of 100, but you should know the rules, how the hafrasha sometimes is done with bachutz, and based on the reckoning that we have, the Gemara says how many fruit you have to separate from Masa Rishon and Masa Sheni for 100 figs, when the hafrasha is done with bachutz, how much is done. Okay. He says here, what we've said here is an example of mitaych, right? You've taken it from that basket. But also in the hafrasha of maestros of 81, it's outside the 81. So, okay. So you want to bring 100 figs, which are corrected, into your home, and you want to be masakin the 100 figs in order you can eat all of them. So you're separating from outside, from fruit in another basket. So you need to separate for every fig according to the reckoning of all the figs that you have. So Shnei Tishuin, you have to separate 2 ninths for Tishua Shel Tishua and a ninth of a ninth from other Tevel. Shehein, which is 2 ninths and a ninth of a ninth from outside, which is 20 Esrim B'Shalish Te'enim, 23, and Arba Tishuin and 4 ninths of a fig, with Tishua Shel Tishua and a ninth of a ninth of a fig. So he says like this, 2 ninths of 100 is 22.2. Okay? Because 1 ninth is 11 and a ninth, which is 100 over 9. Now we need a ninth of a ninth of the 100, which is another 1 fig and 2 ninths of the fig. And also you need a ninth of a ninth of the fig, and therefore the total that we've taken out is 23 figs and 4 ninths, right? And a ninth of a ninth. So it's 23.4567. So now we want to take mass on this 100 from inside. So the shear is 2 ninths and a ninth of a ninth, which is the 19 we mentioned before. And he says here, how would we get this idea of 23 and 4 ninths and the ninth of a ninth? I mean, when you're being mafresh maestros for 100 from outside, we said you've got to take 11.111, right, for Masa Rishon, and another 11.11 for Masa Sheni. So the 2 maestros together should really be 22.22, and not more than that. But then he says, since we're talking you're being mafresh the maestros mibachutz, and you're using for the Masa Sheni fruit, which has not yet had Masa Rishon separated from it, you're using external fruit to cover your Masa Sheni, and you've not yet separated Masa Rishon from that. Therefore, you need to be masakin that first before you can use it for your Masa Sheni. So that's why the Bride says you also have to have a ninth of a ninth for Maser Rishon, because that's the share of Maser Rishon for the fruits which are separated for the sake of Maser Sheni. Because since the fruit of Maser Sheni is 11 and a ninth, the Maser Rishon you have to separate for that is 1 2/9 of a fig and a ninth of a fig. And when you join that Maser Rishon, so the pair is separated from Maser Rishon and Maser Sheni for the 100 in the other basket, the total will be 23 4/9 and a ninth of a fig. Okay, Rabbi said, can you repeat that? Yeah. So what we said is that because you've got to cover, if you want to use other stuff for Maser Sheni, you have to separate that Maser Rishon element as well before you can use it to cover Maser Sheni, and that's how we end up with, we said, 23 figs and 4/9 and a ninth of a fig.
But you can also add, so why can't you just do 24 and just simplify it?
Yeah, well, so we said this is how much you need, 23 and 4/9 and a fig of a fig. Okay, now, halacha zayin, is that right? Now, how do we mafresh a mixture of peres and tevel and chulin, or a mixture of tevel, where different bits of tevel? We're going to have 4 situations here. Let's look at the first situation. Okay, mea tevel, mea chulin. So you've got 100 figs of tevel, where nothing's been separated, and 100 figs of chulin. Okay? Some learn that it's tevel, which has got 100 chulin mixed in it. Okay, but whatever. 100 tevel, 100 chulin. In order to allow that mixture, we have to correct the tevel element. How do we correct the tevel element? Noitel mea va'achas. We have to separate 101 out of the mixture. That way I know for sure I have at least 1 fig of tevel in front of me. By me taking 101, right, there's 100 here and 100 there. That's tevel and that's chulin. I need to make sure I have a bit of the tevel to be Trumas Maser.
So we're doing it inside.
So I have to take, we're taking from this mixture, yeah, but I need to have 101. I have to make sure I use one of the tevel ones to be Trumas Maser. So therefore I have to take all the tevel to be able to get 1 Trumas Maser out of that tevel mixture. So I take 101. That way I know at least I have in front of me 1 fig of tevel. Then that will be designated as Trumas Maser, wherever it is, and that will correct all the other tevel for Trumas Maser. Through that separation, Yisrael will allow to be eating the other 99. Okay? You might have to pay for the mixture, but you can eat the rest, because one, definitely, the other one in this 100 of tevel I've accounted for. That's Trumas Maser. The remaining 99, Yisrael can eat. Now, the 101 is only permitted for a Cohen, because somewhere in it is Trumas Maser. So that 101, but you don't give all the 101 to the Cohen. He can buy it off you, but he's only entitled to 1 of it. So he'll have to pay for the rest. It might be a bit cheaper, but he'll have to buy it off you. But only a Cohen can eat it, because in that mixture is a fig which was separated for Trumas Maser. So that's the first case. So 100 and 100, you need 101 to cover you for Trumas Maser. What about Mea Tevel, 100 of Tevel, and Mea Maser, 100 of Maser Rishon, where Trumas Maser had not been taken. In order to allow the mixture, you have to separate Trumas Maser from the Tevel, and also from the Maser Rishon. So you've got 100 Tevel, 100 Maser Rishon. We need to separate Trumas Maser from here and from there. Noitel Mea Va'achas, you separate again 101 from the mixture. That way you know for sure you have 1 fig from the Maser Rishon which got mixed up. And with that, you can mix the fig together with another 10 out of the 101 figs for Trumas Maser wherever they are. So you're going to basically, you've taken 1 from the Maser Rishon, and then you're going to designate that fig with another 9, right? And that way you're going to correct the figs from the chiv of Trumas Maser. Now, he says the 99 figs that are left out of that 100 are permitted to be eaten by Yisrael. But the 101 figs which we've taken, again, you separate, they are only permitted for a Cohen. The 101 has got Trumas Maser in there somewhere, okay? So again, that's only permitted for a Cohen. Now remember this case, let me just see this case here again. It's 100 of Tevel and 100 of Maser. So how much Trumas Maser do you need? we actually need, out of the Maser ones, we need 10. There's 100 of Maser. We need a tenth of that. So we need 10 from the Maser element. From the Tevel, we need 1. From the Maser, we need 10. Because Tevel, take a tenth, Maser, take a tenth, Trumas Maser. You follow? So out of the Tevel, we need 1 out of the 100. Out of the Maserus, we need actually 10 out of the 100. Right? So we need 11 here altogether. So just to read this last bit again. So we're definitely, for a start, you've got to separate 101. That way you've definitely got 1 fig from the Maserishan. Okay? And then you're going to designate this fig together with another 10 figs out of the 100. There's another 10, as I just said to you, there's another 10 that need to be Trumas Maser as well. Alright, because out of the whole 100 of Maser, you need another 10. And that way you'll correct the figs from the Chiv of Trumas Maser. Now the 99 are permitted for Yisrael, but the 101, which has 11 Trumas Maser in it, the 101 has 11 Trumas Maser in it, only a Cohen can eat that. Okay? Now, let's carry on. Next case. Mea chulin betukanin. Chulin, where betukan, that means everything's been separated. Right, betukanin, there's nothing, it's not Maser, there's nothing that needs coming out of it at all. And then you've got Mea Maser, 100 of Maser Rishon, which means Trumas Maser has not yet been separated. In order to allow the mixture, you have to separate Trumas Maser from the figs of the Maser Rishon. How much do we need? If it's 100 Maser Rishon, how much Trumas Maser do we need? We need 10. Out of 100 Maser, we need 10 Trumas Maser. So what are we told? So we've got 100 Chulin, and we've got 100 Maser. So we're told, Noitel Mea ve'eser, again you've got to take 110. We have to make sure the Trumas Maser comes from the Maser section. So we need to take definitely Mea ve'eser, 110 from the mixture. That way we know for sure we have 10 figs of Maser Rishon. Right, we've got at least 10 figs. If I took 100, I might have 95 of Maser Rishon and maybe 5 from the Chulin. I need 10 figs from the Maser Rishon. It might be 95 of the Chulin that I'm taking if I just take 100, right? I need 10 for sure out of the Maser Rishon. So therefore you've got to take 110. Notel Meva, so you take 110 from the mixture. That way you know for sure you have 10 figs of Maser Rishon. And we will designate them in this mixture for Trumas Maser. And that way we've corrected the Maser Rishon from its obligation. And now the remaining 90 figs, which are extra, so I've taken 110. So remember, there was 100 and 100. So I've taken 110. That I have to give to the Cohen, but he'll have to pay for the extra. The remaining 90 is fine. But the 110, Yisrael can't eat it because it's got Trumas Maser mixed in it. Next case. Mea Tevel v'tishim Maser. 100 Tevel, 90 Maser Rishon. Maser Rishon needs Trumas Maser separating. Yeah, just Trumas Maser, a 10. You got 100 Tevel. 100 Tevel. What does Tevel need? Tevel needs Truma. It needs Maser. It needs Trumas Maser. It needs the lot. So you got 100 Tevel and 90 Maser, which has not yet had Trumas Maser taken. Or Tishim Tevel, 90 of Tevel, or Shmoinim Maser, and 80 of Maser Rishon, which has not yet had Trumas Maser separated. And you have to separate Trumas Maser from the figs to allow you to eat them. So in these situations, where the Tevel is more than the Maser by a shiur of a tenth, is more than a tenth of what the other one is, the Tevel is more than a tenth of what's in the Maser. So for example, we had 100 Tevel and 90 Maser. So 90 Maser plus a tenth would be 99. We've got 100 Tevel, which is more than a tenth more than the Maser, okay? In this situation, whenever the Tevel is more than a tenth extra, lo yahafsid klum, you don't have to be mafresh, only the amount that you would be separating had it not got mixed up. And all that's what you have to separate for the Cohen, and the remaining mixture is permitted. Right? You don't have to go overboard. It's not like you have to take 110 out of 200. We don't have to do that. You don't have to sell the Cohen any extras at a cheap price. You don't have to do that, right? As opposed to the cases we had before. Because in the other cases, you can't be mafresh. You've got to take a bit of the mixture to be miyached it for Trumas Maaseh. It could be it's coming from the wrong place. It's got to come from the right place, which is untyped. You might end up having figs which are not raw to be Trumas Maaseh. That's why you had to take maybe 110, a big portion of the mixture, right? And that's a big portion, okay? And there's no other way, and you're giving it to the Cohen. The Cohen, you can't sell it expensive, he's not going to pay. Whereas here, you can separate the Trumas Maaseh straight from the mixture, okay? So now, Zeh HaKlal, this is the rules. Kol shezman she'tevel meruba, if the tevel is more than the Maaseh Rishon, more than a tenth more, loy hifsid klum, you have not lost anything, because in these situations, the Maaseh Rishon you have to separate out the tevel is equal to the Trumas Maaseh you have to separate for the whole mixture. And you can use these figs as Trumas Maaseh for whole mixture. Therefore, the figs of Maaseh Rishon you designate for Trumas Maaseh for the whole mixture, and the remaining figs are permitted, and you don't have to sell anything cheap to the Cohen. Okay? He says here, for example, if the tevel is 100, then the Maaseh that got mixed up is more than a tenth, so not more than 90. So if there were, let's say, he says if there was 90 tevel, then that applies the same rule if there was not more than 81 of Maaseh. If there was 80 tevel, as long as you don't have more than 72 of Maaseh Rishon. Okay? Then he says here, the amount of Trumas Maaseh for the whole mixture is a tenth of the Maaseh, and also maybe one hundredth from the tevel. So the tevel is more than the Maaseh. A tenth of the tevel, which is its Maaseh Rishon, is equal to the tenth of the Maaseh Peres that got mixed up, and also a tenth of the tenth. He says, for example, we divide it up. He says, let's say you have tevel of 10 parts. Okay, let's say there's 100 parts. So 9 parts are equal to the Maaseh, where the 10th part is the amount which is more the tevel than the Maaseh. Okay, that's what he says, the reckoning there. Alright, let's carry on. Now, we said in the second case in our Mishnah, if 100 parts of tevel are mixed with 100 parts of Maaseh, you have to take 101 from the mixture, and you designate 10 for Trumas Maaseh. Okay? Now, before you designate them the Trumas Maaseh for the whole mixture, you have to be miyached 10 for Maaseh Rishon for the tevel. You have to designate 10 for Maaseh Rishon. Before you can make Trumas Maaseh, you have to have Maaseh Rishon. The Gemara brings an argument how you do this. Rishon ben Lakish Amar, he said, when you're taking the Maaseh, 101 figs, you have to make a condition and say, Im tevel ala biyadi, if out of the 101 that I've taken, I've got tevel, which is like the shiur of Maaseh Rishon of tevel, that is Maaseh Rishon, and they become Trumas Maaseh. But im Maaseh ala biyadi, if the rest of it is all Maaseh in my hand, apart from one fig of tevel, harehu also, then that one fig is also Trumas Maaseh. That is becoming Trumas Maaseh for the tevel, and the remaining Trumas Maaseh will be from the figs of the Maaseh Rishon that I picked up. So if I picked up, see this again. So he says, if I've got tevel, if in the 101 I've got tevel, right, which is enough to be Maaseh Rishon from this fruit, then it's Maaseh Rishon, and from that I'll make Trumas Maaseh. If, however, I've got Maaseh in my hand, well, that one is extra, that will be Trumas Maaseh for the mixture, and the remainder of the Maaseh Rishon will be, Trumas Maaseh will come from the remainder. So that's what you say. Okay. Let's carry on. Rabbi Yoina said, Tzarech lichpal es tanaya, you should repeat your condition, and say, if it's not what I've said, then I've done nothing. So after you said, look, if it's tevel in my hand, it becomes Maaseh, then you should go and repeat your condition and say the opposite side. And if not, I've done nothing. It doesn't become Maaseh. And also the second thing of the condition, after you said, look, if this is Maaseh, then it becomes Trumas Maaseh, you should also repeat your condition and say, and if it's not Maaseh, I've done nothing, then it didn't become Trumas Maaseh. Rabbi Yochanan said, you don't need to repeat your conditions. So one says you have to repeat your conditions, and one says you don't. What are they arguing
What
about?
do you know this Metukas,
Huh?
actually?
You don't know.
What do you know this Metukas? How do you know what you can eat?
You don't know what you're. It's either you're separating it, you're sorting it out. The question is which one are you sorting out? But you're sorting both out. So we said either it's tevel and then it becomes maser, or if it's maser, it becomes trumas maser. He says you don't need to repeat your conditions. Why? Den kidatei, Rish Lakish is like his view elsewhere, and Rabbi Yochanan is like his view elsewhere. This Palgun, there's machlekes about the following situation. You have two mounds of tevel, and you said, Trumas Shnei Korim Ba'achas Mehem. Truma of these two bundles, two mounds, will be in one of them, but you didn't say which. Rabbi Yochanan, he said, Kadshu Meduma'in. The trumas of both are in a dimua, in a mixture. The truma for the two mounds are chal in one of them. We don't know which one, so it's all a mixture of truma and chulin. Rashim Lakishama, he said, no, like it didn't work. The truma is not effective. They remain tevel. Truma, if we don't know where it is, can't be chal. And he says the argument here as well. According to Rish Lakish, just like truma is not chal unless we know where it is in order for it to be chal. So maser can't be chal unless you're mafresh where it is going to be. By making condition and you're doubling your condition, you are mimevarer where the maser is. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, who said truma is chal even if you don't designate the place, he will say here your maser helps even if you're not masner to decide its place. So the question is, do you need to decide its place or not? And that's machlokes Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Now, in the third part of our Mishnah, we said if you've got 100 maser and 100 chulin, so we said you've got to separate 110 out of the mixture. 10 will be trumas maser. Now, since the trumas maser is mixed between the ta'inim, then you have to give the whole 110 to the Cohen. Rav Mana said, Rav Elazar said you have to give. But some argue on him. Maser Tebel, we've learned in a Brisa, if you have Maser Rishon, which is Tebel as far as Trumas Maser is concerned, you've not yet separated Trumas Maser. Shenis Arev Chulin, and it got mixed up with proper Chulin. The din is, Im Yeshle Parnasa Mokem Acher, if you got elsewhere Maser which is not Musukkam, and you can separate Trumas Maser out of that for this Maser Rishon in this mixture. So if you've got other elsewhere, right? You got other Maser which is not Musukkah, and through that you can separate Trumas Maser for this mixture. Moitziai, then you can take out the Trumas Maser from that Maser, Lefi Cheshbon, based on what's needed to be Masakin the Maser Rishon in this mixture. So you'll take out from there what I need to correct this mixture. V'im Lav, but if you haven't got Maser elsewhere, which is not Mesukkan, in order to separate Trumas Maser for this mixture of Maser Rishon here, the Rebbe Lezben Arach, he says, Yikwa Shem the Trumas Maser Shabai. You should designate the Trumas Maser out of the Maser in this mixture. Yale, and then it will separate the Trumas Maser, but Echad Omer will be botel in the 101 in the mixture. So the Truma will be botel, the Trumas Maser will be bottled within the 101 fruit which are in this mixture, and you don't have to be male, you don't have to remove. You only remove the shield of Trumas Maser because it's bottled in the mixture. You follow? Since it's bottled in the mixture, you only have to take out the one which is Trumas Maser, and that's fine. So he says here, for example, let's say 100 Maser Rishon falls into Chodin. You only have to remove the 11 and the 9th for Trumas Maser to be Masaka in the Maser Rishon in the mixture. Right? Okay. Now, based on this, the third case in our Mishnah, which is Maser Rishon mixed up with Chulin. You don't have to take 110 to be Masaka in the Maser and then sell it to a Cohen. We said you can be Miyachad with Trumas Maser 10 figs, one after the other, and each one will be botel in the 100 figs of Chulin in this mixture. Right? Just separate 10, and they're all botel. So here, all you need to do is to be miyached Trumas Maser 10 figs, and each one we botel in the 100, because Truma is botel in the 100, right? So it'll be botel in the 100 figs of Chulin in the mixture. But the Chachamim didn't give you this opportunity. they seem to be arguing with the Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. So based on what we've said, you should rely on bittul, and as you separate, Trumas Meiser should be batel. If you separate it one after the other, you can be miyached it 10 one after the other, and each one should be batel in the 100 of chulin, which is in this mixture. But it seems the Chachamim didn't agree to this. They seem to argue on Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. He says everyone agrees Trumas Meiser is batel in 1 to 100. But the Chachamim hold you can't intentionally cause Trumas Meiser to become batel and chulin. So according to them, Trumas Meiser, which is in a mixture, is not batel. Rabbi Elazar ben Arach agrees, but he holds this is an unusual case because the Meiser is already mixed in chulin. There's no other way to allow you to eat it. Since there's no other way, then the hafrasha is not considered a bittul of truma. It's like a Meiser, an action which is coming to be masak in the fruit. Okay, so let's see this again. So the Chachamim, they argue on Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. Amar Rabbi Baba Mama. Rabbi Baba Mama said, Tifto, we could explain our Mishnah talking about a case b'dvarim she'ein lehen aliyah. We could be talking about things which are very significant, that if they come from forbidden sources, let's say they're kilayim, whatever it is, there's something which is so significant and important, they're never batel. They talk about egazei perech, the nuts of a certain place, rimayne badon, the pomegranates from a certain place. Now, it's not that they're all normal pomegranates. They're obviously fruit that comes with an isser attached. Right? There might be arla, various isurim, whatever the isser was. And because these things were so important, they are never batel. So like these types of nuts, if they were kilayim or whatever, the first 3 years. Here we're talking about things that are never batel. So the only way to be masak in the mixture is by taking out 110 fruit, as we explained. Rabbi Elazar ben Pazi Boy, he asked, V'yafatza, why not break the nuts? Now they're only significant when they're complete. If you break them, they lose their importance, they lose their chashivas, and that way they can be batel. Rabbi Yonah, muter lefatzea, you think you're allowed to break the nuts lechatchila, to be batel them, like taninon. Have we not learnt in Allah? Nispatzu hegazim. But we learn, look, if it happened, if they broke, it's one thing. They're batel if they happen to break. To go intentionally to go and break them, la is not permitted. So the only way to be masakin the master in the mixture is by taking out 110 fruit, as we've explained in the Mishnah. Some say it's Doraisa, some say it's Rabbana. Okay. I think, just see, is there anywhere? Go to, where is it? Oh, we'll carry on. If 100 tevel and 90 maser got mixed up, where you've not yet separated the trumas maser, so you've got 100 tevel and 90 maser, and you're not separated the trumas maser. So he says, as long as the tevel is more than 10% more than the maser rishon, then you don't have to go overboard by separating 110. So how much does the tevel need to be more in order for this rule to work? So Amar Rav Yonah, Kini Masnis, this is the way to learn it. Kozman tevel meruba la maser eser. If it's more than a tenth more than the maser, like the earlier example in our Mishnah or the other cases, lo hefsid klum, you've not lost anything. Because now, there is enough in the maser rishon coming from the tevel to work as trumas maser for itself, and also for the fruit which is in this mixture which have got mixed up. Right, so we said 100 of tevel and 90 of maser. So we need 10. Right, we need 1 in the 100 of tevel. We need 9 trumas maser from the 90. So we need 10 altogether. So we can use it out of the 100 tevel. Just take our 10, and it will cover us for all the trumas maser that I need. If the tevel is less than a tenth more, the rule won't apply. You have to separate, as we said before, with the bigger numbers. So let's say tevel mixed up with chulin or maser. Usually tevel means no trumas or maasers have been separated. But the tevel in our Mishnah is different. So Rav Levinti b'Shem Rav Yonah, Kal tevel da'nan kamin hacha, the tevel that we're talking about, is tevel l'rishon and l'sheni. It's only tevel as far as maser rishon and maser sheni is concerned. Truma gedola has already been separated. And that's why the Mishnah mentions the shiur, which is fitting for trumas maser. It doesn't mention the requirement for truma, because truma has already been taken. Now we learnt in our Mishnah that if the tevel is more than the maser amount by more than a tenth, then you don't lose anything. So now the Gemara is talking about a case where the owners have a way they won't lose anything, according to one opinion, and this will be a case, let's say 100 tevel and 100 chulin. Rabbi Amar, is Palgum Rebbe, Rabbi Destoy, Rabbi Yamai. They had a question. But in the question, what can the owners do in a situation of a mixture of tevel and chulin, like the first case in our Mishnah? Harav, one said, if you want to stop a big loss, you don't want to separate 101 out of this and sell them to the Cohen cheap. You don't want to do that. So you've got 100 chulin, 100 tevel. Isa, you can make the tevel in the mixture sheni l'makom acher. You can take the tevel in that mixture and make it maser sheni for elsewhere, for other fruits that you've not yet separated maser sheni. And after that, you can redeem the maser sheni and use it for yourself. So you can separate it as maser sheni for elsewhere, and then you can redeem it. He says, once it's become maser sheni, it's exempted from the chiyuv of maser rishon and trumas maser. So if tevel and chulin get mixed up, you don't have to sell the 101 for a cheap price, because there's not all truma in this mixture. In this way, you're meyachid it for maser sheni, that's a get-out clause. You're not going to lose, because you've got other fruits which requires hafrosha for maser sheni elsewhere. Now usually you shouldn't be meyachid maser later than the earlier maser which is required. Here we're talking about demai, and therefore although you're going a bit out of order, it's not so bad. The issur doesn't apply.
And the benefit is that you don't have to give it to the Cohen. You
don't have to give the whole 100 to the Cohen. You pay exactly. We've said if you separate maser later before the earlier maser, the chiyuv maser comes first and it's still there. If you're miyachad maser sheni from fruit where you've not yet separated maser rishon and trumas maser, the chiyuv remains. This Tana argues on this klal as far as demai is concerned.
Why?
And he holds, since you're allowed to be ma'aser demai out of order, if you did that, it's batal chiyuv maser which came earlier. Okay, so let's carry on. B'chana Amar, the other one said, I said kula sheni lemakem acher. You can make all the maser sheni for elsewhere, or mafresh alav rishon memakem acher. And you can, I don't think I'm going to get to this Mishnah, by the way. I'm going to stop here, I think. Just finish this line. I said, Kula Sheni Mimakamacha. You can make the whole thing Maser Sheni for elsewhere. Or Mafresh Alav Rishon Mimakamacha. And you can separate for it Maser Rishon from elsewhere. He says, although you're allowed to be Miyached Maser Demai out of order, but the chiyuv earlier ones are not nullified. And even if you separate for Peres Demai to be Maser Sheni for other fruit, you still have to separate Maser Rishon and Trumas Maser from elsewhere. So according to this opinion, there's no ta'eles in this solution. Even after you miyachid the tevel in the mixture for Maser Sheni, you still have to separate for the tevel fruit Maser Rishon and Trumas Maser from elsewhere. And if you've got other fruits with masak in the tevel, you should have done this first and sorted out the whole mixture. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Okay.